Hope Zvara. She is talking about, or will be talking about, mental strategies for avoiding burnout. Hope, good morning to you.
Good morning, Tim, and Happy New Year.
Yeah, Happy New Year to you as well. Great talking to you in this brand new year.
It is. It is going to be a great year, 2024. At least that's what I'm telling myself. So
that's what I say as well. It's going to be an awesome year this year. And Dre agrees.
Awesome. I love it. I love it. Well, I know a few shows ago we talked about some of the triggers of burnout, and January always has this feel of like goal setting and like looking for what am I going to do this year? What are my goals? Like, what do I want? And sometimes for some people that can lead them to a little burnout. That can lead them to biting off more than they can chew. And that can lead them to doing things that, well, maybe weren't such a good idea. And I've been there. I've dug myself into holes where then I felt overwhelmed. I felt anxious. I felt kind of stuck. And I think as much as it is to kind of know the signs and symptoms of mental health challenges, especially burnout, what can we do? What can we do to help prevent and also help curb some of those things from happening in our life so that we can, well, keep on trucking? And so that's what I want to talk about today.
Absolutely. And much needed as well. And like you said, around, this time of year, people can overwhelm themselves, and it's not hard to do either.
No, I 100% agree. And so when we're looking at mental health strategies that we can take on to better ourselves, to be able to kind of stay in that middle lane where, stress is not bad. I think there is a group of people that talk about stress like we have to eliminate all stress. But stress does a lot of good for us, but it's about balancing that stress and kind of regulating that stress when we can. And so first things first is recognizing, like, what's your threshold of too much stress? Like when, if you look back in your life, can you say, whoa, that's when I really fell off the edge? Or that's when I really just kind of broke down, or that's when I keep collapsing, or I keep losing it on my kids or my boss or whatever it is, like kind of noticing that pattern. That was huge for me. Burnout, I didn't even really understand and realize what burnout was in my life. I just knew I had grit and I knew I could show up and I could outwork anybody. Like I was like, I'm going to get her done. And I didn't realize there was a cost to that. And looking back, there was a pattern for me of just kind of getting hyper fixated on a goal and going all in and kind of forgetting about the world around me a little bit. And so if you're listening, and you're like, man, I do feel a little exhausted, or I do feel a little alienated, or I just feel always stressed. Like I wake up, I feel stressed. I don't sleep well at night. Maybe you're not even going to sleep well. Like those are signs that burnout could be on the horizon for you or already in your lap. And so noticing those patterns, noticing maybe where a wrong turn is the first step. But the second step, and this was a life changer for me, is recognizing that you and only you can shift your perspective. The blame game is so easy when we're stressed, when we're overwhelmed, when things aren't going our way. But where is it in my life right now that I need to shift my perspective? Maybe I need to shift away from what I'm focusing on. Maybe I need to stop, listening to my brother-in-law or my sister-in-law give me advice, which is always bad. Where is it that I can shift my perspective? I don't know about you, Tim, but like that, realizing that I do have control over that is a really empowering thing for any of us.
Yeah, it certainly is. And, and that's something that you have to sit back, and you said something, I mean, all of it is key, but one of the things you just mentioned, Hope, as far as taking advice, you have to be very careful who you take advice from, because it could make things worse for you.
Oh, 100%. And, it's not just people that we're taking advice from. I'm really trying to pay attention in my life right now of kind of the social media plunge. And how we watch a video or read something and instantly believe it's true. And I'm trying to really watch myself not go down rabbit holes on that particular platform or with that particular advice column, let's say, and notice how that stresses me out. Like, oh my gosh, I'm doing this wrong now. And now I'm doing this wrong. And now I suck at this. Wow, I just watched 45 minutes of videos telling me how a bad person I am. Like that, we don't even realize that's happening. So we have to shift our perspective. So one of the things I do every single day, and I made this a point, oh gosh, a couple of months ago, I was like, you know what? We make time for what we make time for. And so I bought a 5-minute prayers book, just 5 minutes, because I thought, you know what, I can do that in 5 minutes. I can find 5 minutes in the morning. And that is how I start up my morning. I read from that prayer book, just 5 minutes. It has a topic or a theme for every day. And it really does get my mind straight. It really does help me kind of just make sure I'm in the lane I want to be in. I'm not saying I think about that topic all day long, but it really does help me kind of get myself on track. And that's something we can all do. Download an app that maybe has a positive verse for the day, or do what I did. And I bought a little prayer book actually from an airport because it was like, oh, that's great. That's exactly what I need. And so what is it that you can do? How is it that you can get your mind straight right away first thing in the morning? If that means getting up 5 minutes earlier and you have a better day, so be it.
You know, I'll say this, and we'll go into the break, and we'll come back for more from you, Hope. But social media, I was talking to, wasn't too long ago, a few weeks ago, I guess it was, to a good friend of mine, and he's a counselor also. He's in the mental health field, and we were talking about this. He brought it up, and something that I've often thought about, but he brought it up about how he is seeing more patients now who are suffering from depression or having some severe mental health issues due to social media, doing the exact thing that you just described, you know, taking advice or believing everything they read and then going down a rabbit hole. And he says it's a vicious cycle. And he says that it has picked up tremendously. And so, and he's an older guy as well. And so I was talking to him about, you know, I said, look, you remember when you were a kid? He and I, you know, pretty close to the same age. And I said, we didn't have social media, so you didn't have those things to compare. You know, even as teenagers, we didn't have this. Even in our early 20s, you know, we didn't, probably in my entire 20s. I don't remember when social media came out. I was much older, but we didn't have these things to compare ourselves with, or other people to make us feel bad or to tell us something and plant this negative seed in our head, and that seed starts growing in our head, and next thing you know, it has exploded in our head. So we didn't have all of that, and that's what he was agreeing with as well, is that this is causing a lot of mental issues with people.
I 100% agree, and I would love to talk about this more after the break, because there are some parameters that at least I follow when it comes to social media, because I believe it can be a good thing, and if you're in business, it can be a tool, but when used incorrectly, man, it can cause a lot of mental anguish.
Absolutely. We're going to be discussing mental strategies for avoiding burnout. Hope, yeah, you wanted to comment more on the social media. As you mentioned, it can be very positive and very helpful, but at the same time, if you don't use it in the right way, it can be very detrimental as well.
You know, it's interesting, and like I said, I was kind of self-reflecting about my own social media use, and one of the things I recognized is when I'm not in a good mood, when I'm feeling down, when I'm maybe feeling a little, you know, depressed or anxious, and I am on social media, it amplifies those feelings. And when I'm positive and I'm feeling good about myself and I'm having a good day, I find that it amplifies those feelings. And that was a really interesting kind of aha moment that I had. It's almost like a drug. It's like, oh, I'm having a bad day. Now I feel worse. I'm having a good day. Oh, now I see all the good things, which really goes back to what type of a mindset we have when it comes to things like burnout. for many people, we're kind of stuck, and we were raised this way. I know I was raised this way. For many of us, you're hearing this and you're like, this is me, is I was raised in this idea of like a fixed mindset that, I kind of avoided challenges. I was not good at receiving criticism or feedback. I felt like focusing on myself wasn't a good thing, and I couldn't accept my mistakes. I like pushed anyone away that was like threatening my kind of safety or my internal livelihood. And I don't know, maybe in my 20s or so was when I really started getting help for some of the mental health challenges that I had. I don't keep it a secret. I struggled a lot with anxiety and depression. I struggled with addiction, and I realized it was me. It wasn't everyone else around me. And a big part of it was my mindset. I was kind of this all or nothing. And so that recognizing that perspective, Tim, I'm coming back to this because to avoid burnout, you kind of have to realize why you're getting burnt out. And I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but it ain't your boss. It's not your spouse. It's not your kids. It's how you're managing those things. It's how you're approaching those challenges and those obstacles, and how you're preparing yourself for the day with those. Just like when you get on social media, if you're getting on social media with a bone to pick with someone, those are the people that are just spouting out from the sides of their mouth and saying things like, do you even read what you're saying? And I look at that as somebody that's burning the candle at both ends, somebody that is just probably stressed beyond belief and has no outlet and no way to manage that. And so our mindset, that fixed mindset, being kind of focused on proving yourself, feeling like, you can't receive feedback. We want to shift to that growth mindset of just being open to new opportunities, being willing to just listen to someone's feedback and not see it as an attack on ourselves, being willing to be inspired by other people, how to learn from our failures. These are all things that are internal, Tim. These are not things external. These are not a prescription. And when I started realizing that I didn't have the ability to take constructive feedback, that I looked at other people's success as a threat to my own, that stepping outside my comfort zone, like just put me into a state of panic, that I felt like I always had to prove myself, I realized that something internal in me needed to change if I ever wanted to be able to really manage the stresses of life. I mean, I was only in my 20s. How was it going to be when I had kids in my 30s, 40s? Like, I have to try to be able to do something about this. And for so many people still, and it makes me sad, like we're still not looking at ourselves and going, how can I manage my mental health? What role do I play in it?
Very, very important. Absolutely. I have an email for you, and he, first of all, thanks you for coming on, and thank you for this topic. He says, as I really needed it. I'm suffering from burnout right now, deep burnout to be exact. I also suffer from depression too. You mentioned about how if you're depressed or burnt out, social media can make you more burnt out. And if you're happy, it can make you happy. I tend to look for negative things when I'm depressed on social media. And I know I don't need to do that because it just makes matters worse. What kind of tips can you give me to help myself? Maybe should I take time off, or should I just take a break from everything that I'm doing on social media? Then he goes on to say, I do use social media as an owner operator. I do use social media for my business as well. And thanking you in advance.
Oh my gosh. First of all, thank you so much for writing in and sharing what's going on. You're not alone, first of all. And knowing that we're not alone can help us a little bit. It can make us feel like, okay, I'm not this like broken person floating around out in the wilderness, that there is hope for me. And when it comes to social media, and this is just something I still practice because for me, my mental health is always something I'm paying very close attention to because I know what the bottom of the well looks like and feels like, and it's not fun. And so I went when I was having a good day. You got to do this when you're having a good day, not when you're having a low day. And I went through and I blocked and unfollowed people that were jeopardizing or sabotaging or robbing me of my mental health. Some people were friends, some people were family, some people, some pages were like, oh, you got to follow this person, but it was when push came to shove and I was having one of those days and I would see stuff from them, it would trigger me. It would kind of throw me over the edge. It would make me question myself. And you got to do this one again when you're having a good day. Why am I exposing myself to that stuff? Why am I putting myself in those positions that make me feel even worse afterwards? Like, what are you doing, Hope? And that was a real eye-opener for me. And I do use social media for my business. The second thing I had to do was I look at social media as a tool. And when I shifted my perspective on that from a business perspective, when I get on social media, I'm using that as a business channel. And keeping that mindset and that frame of mind has really helped me, like, okay, I'm looking to connect with my drivers and my customers. I'm looking to share about X. I'm not just on there because I'm trying to fill dead air time and I'm kind of feeling a little anxious and I don't like the silence and I don't like the solitude and I'm feeling uncomfortable with a choice I just made. Like, that's not a good reason to get on social media because you're not going to be able to fill that void that you currently feel. So those are the great times to have some back pocket strategies or have maybe other apps that you can go to. Maybe it's, I'm going to do some breathing. Maybe it's, I'm going to listen to an inspirational message. Like, I love audiobooks. I'm going to pop in my audiobook. Maybe you have some favorite people on Spotify or series. Listen to Tim, whatever it is to kind of get yourself out of that gutter. But when we don't have tools already idling, ready for us to grab, and we're having one of those episodes, or we're having one of those moments, maybe it's a long moment, it's going to be twice as hard to grab from them. Take it from somebody that has struggled with addiction. Someone can tell you all the things to do in the world, but when you're in one of those moments, it is really hard to grab for them. And what I learned the hard way was I have to have those in front of me at all times until it becomes automatic for me to grab for them. So maybe that's putting the app on your main screen that helps you feel good, that audiobook, that Spotify, that whatever it is, and taking all your social media apps off your main screen on your phone. That's what I did. Because when I open my phone, I see them. It's like so tempting to click on them. And then it's that rabbit hole into feeling awful. And so that's an easy strategy that you can do to just kind of reframe how it is that you're going about your day. The second thing, again, is taking inventory of when you feel that way. What are you doing? What are you reaching for? Are you drinking more coffee on those days? Do you call the wrong people? What is it? And starting to restructure some of your day little by little. Don't do it all at once, and do it on good days so they become habits for the bad days. And little by little, you're going to start to notice that you're shifting away from, rock bottom burnout, overstress, to being able to manage some of these things, because we're never going to be able to eliminate the stress in our life, but we can manage it.
And managing the stress is the key, isn't it?
100%.
Yeah. And I've been there. I've had burnout before, and it doesn't feel good. And sometimes with that, you can feel like the world is caving in on you. But the thing is managing it. And like you were mentioning, Hope, just fill yourself with some positive readings, podcasts or radio shows, or I like listening to inspirational messages, and even when I'm mowing the lawn, I have that in my ear. The listening to inspirational messages, and so things like that can really help you in terms of burnout, and even in terms of being depressed or being down, because we all go through that, and that'll definitely, as you just mentioned, will help you out tremendously.
100%. And recognizing that we're not alone, that this isn't just you. I always thought it was just me. I was the broken one in the room. And recognizing that you're not only one can really help us kind of just take a sigh, take a breath, and be able to move forward. The last thing that I want to mention, and I always tell people, I'm not a doctor, but I have ran in a lot of circles, taken a lot of trainings, and really immersed myself in health, mainly for my own well-being, but also of the tens of thousands of people that I've worked with over the last 20 years. And this was a game changer for me. I had always tried to take, the right vitamins and be able to, make sure I'm as healthy as I can be because I know I've done damage to my body. And one of the game changers for me was taking magnesium and a methylated B vitamin. I always just felt like maybe this is just the way I'm going to be, kind of just this like slightly unstable, kind of up and down mental health. And that magnesium, once I started digging into it and I actually got my levels checked at the doctor, I was low in magnesium. And magnesium is not only good for your muscles, like pain, physical pain, but also your mental health. And that was a huge game changer for me. And the other one I didn't realize was taking a methylated B vitamin. And the methylated version I learned is just a better version for your body to actually absorb that B vitamin because it helps with DNA repair, it helps the body absorb it better. Like those two things, I didn't realize I was so depleted in and how much they connect back to your mental health. And so that might be something for those of you listening. Check with your doctor. Get some blood tests done. See if maybe you're depleted or deficient in some things that are affecting your mental health and your ability to manage burnout.
Absolutely. And tell us quickly how they can get in touch, our listeners can get in touch and find out more about you.
Oh, absolutely. You can find me on all social platforms and over on our website at mothertruckeryoga.com. Let's change lanes in your health and wellness together.
All right, Hope. Thank you so much. We certainly appreciate you. Happy New Year to you again, and we look forward to talking to you next time around.
You too, Tim. Bye now.
All right.